Hello, Hannah the Suburban Witch here, and today we are doing an unboxing video of the Thoth Tarot deck. In today's video, we're going to take a quick look at this tarot deck, the packaging that it comes in, its price point, what the card quality is like, what the artwork is like, and the main differences between the Thoth and the Rider-Waite-Smith tarot deck. If you're new to my channel, I'm Hannah the Suburban Witch, an intuitive tarot reader and astrologer, and I love bringing you all my witchy content here on YouTube. Make sure you hit the subscribe and bell notification so that you can never miss a video. I'd love if you joined me on my other platforms as well. I have Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, and I post different content to all of those, but it's all similar sort of vein, educational, funny, and a little bit different. Now, you may or may not have heard of the Thoth Tarot deck. Personally, I was almost repulsed by this for a little while. I was not interested at all. And then earlier this year, I started seeking it out and thinking, maybe it's time. Maybe it's time. And it started to, I would say, call me. So this is very new to me. I've never looked at it. I've never opened it. This is all going to be absolute first time reactions. I don't know what any of the artwork looks like on this, to be honest. Now this one I bought from the store Elfheim, which is in Olinda here in Victoria, Australia, my favorite witchy store, and it was $45 plus shipping. So it's not a super cheap one, but it's also not an expensive tarot deck. It's pretty reasonable. It is a little different to the Rider-Waite-Smith, which was of course created by Arthur Edward Waite. This one was created by famed occultist Aleister Crowley. Whether or not you have an opinion on Aleister Crowley and his practices, he wasn't a particularly nice person in history, but he contributed a lot to the occult history and occult knowledge that we have out there today. So it comes shrink wrapped in plastic, as most decks do these days. And similar to my Rider-Waite-Smith deck box, it is simply a cardboard box, so it's not going to stand the deck of time. So this won't stand the test of time. I will need to invest in a tarot bag or a tarot box specifically for this deck. Believe it or not, I've actually never seen any of the artwork in this, so this will be as surprising and new to me as it is to you. Now, upon opening it, the inside is also shrink wrapped as well. So lots of plastic, which, I mean, we don't need more plastic in the world, but I guess it's protected. So immediately I can see it comes with a little white book, an LWB, and we have the backs of the cards that look like this. It's a cross with 5 different colors, and I mean, this is going to be a deck that is rife with symbolism. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to expect, guys. In terms of the cardstock, like, already I'm loving it. It's a very typical card deck, like a playing deck of cards, which is going to be really nice to shuffle. Okay, we have an additional card in here which just has some text on it saying that tarot is a pictorial representation of the forces of nature as conceived by the ancients according to conventional symbolism. At first sight, one would suppose this arrangement to be arbitrary, but it is not. It is necessitated. Oh my gosh, I can't say. It is necessitated by the structure of the universe and in particular of the solar system as symbolized by the Holy Kabbalah. And this was by Aleister Crowley. So I'm going to chuck that card. Now the packet says it has 78 cards plus a guidebook. Obviously we had an additional one there. And then the first card that I see is this, which is a unicursal hexagram, which is a symbol from Thelema, which is a practice coined by Aleister Crowley. So unicursal hexagram there. Now, I don't actually know if this card is included in the 78 that we would traditionally know from a tarot deck or not. So learning with me here, guys. Now, the first thing I want to do, I want to go in and just shuffle everything, right? I want to feel how it shuffles and how it spreads, but I'm going to try and hold off so we have some form of order to how the cards come out. Now, I'm just going to pull out the cards into Major Arcana and then the 4 suits, just so I can get a better look at some of the differences that might be popping up. Okay, so I've answered my own question. The Unicursal Hexagram card is additional, so that would make this a 79 card deck, plus this little piece is 80. So 80 cards in it, 78 make up the tarot. I don't know if this is a bonus or anything. Let me have a look. On a quick flick through of the little white book, this card is not mentioned, so I presume it's just an additional card. I guess you could add your own meaning to it or look up the meaning of the Unicursal Hexagram. I'm not super familiar with it myself, and weave that into your deck or remove it if you don't like it. It's up to you. Firstly, there's quite a few differences here. Now, the very first one, I'm very glad that I didn't shuffle and I pulled everything apart. Thank you for that guidance, universe. Now, the first thing is we have cups is one of the suits, that they're called cups. Discs instead of coins or pentacles. Wands is normal, swords is normal, so that's fine. But then when we get to the court cards, they are not your standard page, knight, queen, king. They are instead princess, prince, queen, and knight, which will take some getting used to. When it comes to the Major Arcana, there are a few differences here. So firstly, we can see the Magician is called the Magus. The High Priestess is just the Priestess. The Strength card has changed numbers and it is called Lust. The Justice card is now number 8 and this is called Adjustment instead. The Wheel of Fortune is simply Fortune. Now, Temperance is now called Art, Judgment is the Eon or the Aeon, and the World card is called the Universe. Some things I really like about this is each of the cards obviously has some symbols at the bottom, and these are both planetary and I believe Hebrew or Kabbalistic? Both either Hebrew or Kabbalah symbols. I'm presuming Hebrew, which I am not familiar with, so I cannot advise you on what those are, but the astrological glyphs and symbols, planetary symbols, are really helpful, so they're going to tell us a little bit about each of the cards. Particularly in cards like the Moon, we can really see the Egyptian influence in these cards. So that's really intriguing seeing those. It's very different to the Rider-Waite-Smith, which I feel is more the Italian influence of the cards. From my understanding of Aleister Crowley, which is, I'm not an expert, is that he believed that the tarot came from Egypt. So that's why we see a lot of this Egyptian symbolism, and also that it was created by the god Thoth, which is an Egyptian deity from the pantheon. He was the creator of the alphabet, of hieroglyphics, of writing. He was a scribe of the underworld. Lots of really cool stuff about Thoth. It's actually, fun fact, I've never been called to deity work, but Thoth has been calling to me through these cards and through a few other things. So it's something I'm just starting out in. So I know I've never spoken or taught on anything deity-wise, but watch this space as I learn with you all. I do find the court cards quite interesting. There is no king, so I believe that king energy would really just be the emperor and empress vibe. Knight is very different to king in the Rider-Waite-Smith, but in this one it's going to take some little getting used to, I think. Having the prince and the princess will be intriguing as well, because that is very different roles. I think I'm going to have to really get into the old-fashioned courtly system with this deck, which will potentially be beneficial. You know, what was the role of a princess? What was the role of a prince and a knight and the queen? What did they have to offer? What did they have to learn? What did they have to know? That will be really beneficial, I believe, with this deck. Another main difference is the images themselves do not have scenes depicted. Not really, especially not the trump cards. They are all fairly, I don't want to use the word bland, because they are colourful, they are different, there is symbolism, full of symbolism, but they're not depicted. So I think if you were stepping into this as your first deck, it would be difficult to read it intuitively. The more knowledge you have around occultism, the easier this deck will be. It is intriguing that the court cards, to me, feel more like Major Arcana cards in the way that they are drawn and depicted. On a first glance at these cards, The artwork does feel quite intense. This is not wishy-washy. This is not rose-tinted glasses. You can feel the occult vibes. You can feel the darker side to the deck of cards, I have to say it. Like, yeah, they're colourful, but there's something about the actual art style. Do you feel the same? Let me know in the comments. I'm intrigued. I think the star card is particularly beautiful. Now, thankfully, this tarot deck comes with a book, a big book, not just the little white book. And my Patreon, one of my Patreon members, Chantal, actually sent me her copy of this book because she was finished with it. So thank you very much, Chantal. It is going to help a lot, I can tell already. The other thing to notice is the cards in the minor are not named like 3 of discs, right? It just says works and worry and success. So it could be a little confusing if you've only known the Rider-Waite-Smith to come in and be like, ooh, what card is this? So that's something to be wary of as well. The good thing is it gives you a little jump off point. What does this mean? It means power, that sort of thing. And now we go for the shuffle. They shuffle really nicely. It's a really good size deck as well. It's not too big, it's not too small. It's actually perfect for my hands. Shuffles smoothly. They are slightly glossy, so again, taking photographs may be a little bit difficult, but not impossible. They're not super glossy. They're just sort of a standard deck of playing cards. Let's see how they spread. Beautifully, absolutely beautifully. So all in all, I'm actually really excited to jump into this deck and give it a go and see what it's like. Stay tuned for when I do a review video and let you know how it all feels and whether or not I like it.